Hi, I'm Chayale.
Hi, I'm Hinty. Welcome to Your Relationshift. Join in our conversation where we explore
The nuance and beauty of Torah's perspective on relationships.
Hey, Sala.
Hey,
Okay.
how you doing?
Good. Thank God. Doing really well. Thank God. How are you?
Baruch Hashem. Happy to be here.
Blessed. Blessed to be here. That's my new response. I want to say blessed every time. Because yes, I know I say Baruch Hashem, but it's just like a nice reminder that I am so blessed.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's much better than the typical Jewish response. Could be worse. Can't complain. Any of those.
That's so good. It could be worse.
Yeah. Hey, could be worse.
Yeah.
Can't complain. Ouch. Imagine Hashem hearing that response. Can't complain. What?
Try me. I could always complain.
Yeah.
Okay, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about deep listening. We're talking about listening skills in general. I've actually gotten a lot of questions around that. Just like, what does it look like? What is it? What is it? What is it not? And not to say that I am a professional deep listener, but I think there's definitely something to talk about there. So let's make it into an episode.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. It's so relevant to any relationship, any interaction, really, and specifically relationships, specifically close relationships, and so relevant to femininity. There's so much receptivity. So many of the receptive skills play into deep listening. How can I say real listening? I don't even know if it's about deep. Like sometimes it's just about listening, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's an important piece to say.
So it's interesting, even in my process, it was such a new idea for me to think about how I listen. Just to have an awareness around that. Shout out to a friend of mine who once suggested to me to just pay attention to how much internal narrating there is in my brain while someone's talking to me.
Wow.
And that kind of was very eye-opening to me. It was like a moment of painful self-awareness of how little listening I was doing.
I get that.
And the realization of what would it be like to actually listen to somebody, and what is that how is that done, how is that not done, and I think that I've definitely also seen this with clients, and it's a complaint that people have, feeling like their spouse doesn't listen to them, not being heard. Could be a major
on both
pain point.
ends.
Yeah, on both ends.
Yeah.
And really listening to somebody is how to create emotional intimacy. I think that's something that everyone is craving and everybody wants, and we don't necessarily realize that we can initiate that by learning how to listen effectively, properly, sincerely. So yeah, I'm excited to bring this to everyone because I do think it could be such a game changer for a relationship.
I love that. And it's so powerful that a friend was able to share that with you and give you that feedback. And that also in turn, you were able to receive that and hear it and observe yourself and notice it and improve on it, which is it's like such a beautiful process in and of itself. Okay, so let's talk about what is not deep listening. This way we could clear the air and kind of see what happens in daily interactions when we're talking with someone, with a husband, or even just a friend, I don't know, relative, and what's happening there that shows that you're not being a real listener. And yeah, let's talk to that.
Okay. We did touch on it in a previous episode when we did a bit of role playing. I think the context was when your husband brings you an idea
Hmm.
and you feel thrown and
Right.
overwhelmed and afraid of the idea. So we spoke about letting an idea land. And I think what we're doing here is expanding it to all conversations. It's not only about when an idea comes to you, creating space for the idea. It's about a general mode of being. It's a mode of presence that you have in a conversation. And if there is space in this conversation for the other person,
Mm.
and some examples of how there wouldn't be space would be what's coming to you first.
What wouldn't be space? Well, first of all, we could talk about the big ones, we could talk about the little ones. So let's start with the big ones, right? So because you already started with that. So you were saying like there's just like a lot of mental chatter already in your mind when the person is talking. So you by definition are not really listening because you're listening to yourself and the mental chatter that's happening inside. And yes, I love that you mentioned that because we had said this in a previous episode because a lot of mental chatter does come up when an idea comes at you. But even in just like regular conversation, there's also mental chatter that's happening all the time. And there's sort of like a quieting that has to happen in order to be able to make space for somebody else's words to penetrate. There has to be some sort of landing space. So there is a little bit of like the right, that story with the Rebbe of like shah, like to just like calm down all the inner voices and everything else that's coming up in order to be able to receive the information. Um, Something that links into that category would be, for example, let's start with the deep ones. Um, if you had, let's say, a deep belief about this person who you're speaking to, or a judgment on them, for example. So let's say it's about a husband. So if feel bad saying this, but I mean, so relatable to many people. If a woman feels like her husband is dumb, stupid, right? Or if she just thinks this comes up, okay?
Yeah, no, it does.
Um,
Sure.
yeah. So, or if
Yeah,
she thinks in this area, right?
right.
Like
I was
in
gonna
this
say,
area,
yeah,
he just doesn't think. Like maybe saying stupid is like very harsh. I can't tell you how many women though do sound like it when I speak to them, right? So like in this area, or like when it comes to the kids, like in business, he's great, or open up a safer, he knows exactly what's going on. He's brilliant. But when it comes to relationships, whatever it is. So if she has that judgment or that belief about him, and this is their, and then they're trying to interact. So that's kind of like mental chatter. It's more like almost like emotional chatter and mental chatter where it's taking up space in her mind and she kind of can't even hear what he's saying because all that she's really thinking underlying uh, her experience is he doesn't know what he's talking about, or he doesn't know how this is going to end up happening, or why would he say something like that? That's so dumb, right? So it just really breaks down that ability for her to hear, receive, be open to what he's talking about.
yeah, and I think when you're talking about it from the perspective of beliefs, which is the way beliefs work, is they create our whole experience of something, and even if when a woman's at that belief, there's not really any way to break out of that cycle. It's not like her husband's going to be able to say something to her and she's going to be like, oh, like, look, that he's smart, or that was actually an intelligent idea or thought, because everything he says is just going to be like more evidence for how he doesn't get it and how he's not intelligent in this area. So a belief is like this black hole. Nothing, like everything just gets discarded because, and not only discarded, everything just reinforces the belief, which is why beliefs are so powerful for the good and the bad. So if you're coming to a conversation and there's a negative belief about the person, it's the conversation never ever started. It's like such a crazy thing to think about, because how often are we doing that? We've made an assumption, we have a belief. It could be other beliefs. This person is narrow-minded. This person, this person has an agenda. This person is selfish. Really, any belief that you have that's, a negative and limiting belief, the conversation ended right there, because whatever they're going to say, you're going to just feel like, oh, yeah, look, that reinforces my belief.
Yeah. Which I guess is also why, like, a lot of husbands will say, like, you're not even listening to me. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm here. I'm looking in your eyes. But he could feel the energy of, she's just not receptive to what I'm saying. It's not really as much about like exactly what he's saying or the specific situation that they're going through. It's much more, he just feels like she's just not open. She's not receptive. And you're right. It's a conversation closer. Sure.
I also like think it's in something that probably everybody's observed. It's easier to observe in other people. When you hear, sometimes you might even watch a couple talking to each other or two people talking to each other, and you see how one person is trying to say something and the other person can't hear what they're saying because they're so stuck on a particular belief about this person. So if you've ever witnessed that, which I feel like if you've witnessed people, you've probably witnessed that, like, pay attention to that. Like the mechanics of what's going on over there, that could be happening in your relationship on a regular basis, and you're not even realizing because you don't have that objective view.
Right. You're viewing everything through your prism, your paradigm, and it's very limiting. Yeah, 100%. Which is a big one. But as soon as you have that awareness, it's very helpful. Right? It's kind of like a very big breakthrough moment when, like, kind of like what you realized when you had the mental chatter in your mind. You're like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize. When you come to that state of honesty, of realizing, wow, this belief is not serving me in even this tiny experience where I'm trying to communicate to my husband about carpool and we can't even communicate something like this. Maybe there's something to uncover here. And then you uncover that, wow, there's this belief and it's not even allowing me to move forward. It's a very powerful realization.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's probably that's probably at the core of it. If someone is not listening, you're going to see at the base of it, at the core of it, you're going to find a belief. And your beliefs could be few, they could be many, they could span over the whole human, race. Like some people have, like, with all people, all people are insincere. So in every conversation, they're not taking it seriously because nobody's honest. Like people have these like all-encompassing beliefs that have them just completely shut down in conversation, not believing in the authenticity of other people, and then there's just no hope for conversation there. Okay, so stepping on to the next thing, what are other limitations, would you say, in listening?
So I would even just like continue with those, like what manifests when you have that belief that you're not even conscious to, like some ways that maybe would be like indicators for you to know that this is happening for you might be the outward expression of that belief, right? So like, let's say, I don't know, maybe we should like act this out, but like, let's say a woman who feels like, okay, he totally doesn't get this kind of thing, or this is not where his brilliance lies. All the euphemisms that we have for our husbands because we're trying to justify his stupidity, whatever it is that our belief is. So how would it look, right? Even just like physically, outwardly, what would that look like? So our body language is very much an indicator of what our beliefs are. Right. So if I'm experiencing some sort of like defensive stance, right? So armed crossed, eyebrow up, like the tight lips, like the tight lipped. Yeah, I'm making eye contact, but that is not listening. There's no space. Try talking to me right now. It will rebound. It would just pop off
I'm
me.
just looking at you and I'm getting stressed.
There you go. There you
There's
go.
like
Yeah,
so
it's
much there's so much like the eye roll, and like I'm starting like that face of like when you're like looking and you're rolling your eyes and like your lips are and like your body, and I'm like I'm shrinking like in this moment, like help. I just getting
yeah,
smaller and smaller.
yeah. Try telling me something now. Yeah. I know we're laughing, but because like I love how easily I assumed it, but I'm also laughing. Um, yes, I was definitely there. Right? Just to make sure that everyone feels like this is very relatable. Sometimes you don't even realize, right? Sometimes you don't even realize how tight our jaws can become, how our throats are constricting. It's hard for us to swallow. It could be hard for you to breathe, right? In a moment like that, because a lot is coming up. Why? Kind of like with beliefs and judgments, what also could be coming up is like a very strong emotional reaction. And you could literally be talking about carpool. But if you're having like a very strong reaction to whatever it is that he's saying, again, there's no space. So if you're feeling some sort of somatic intensity, then that's an indicator that you're not listening very well. And there's something that has to be taken care of, kind of like all the other episodes we've been talking about regulation and taking care of yourself and making sure that you feel like, I'm okay, right? Because it's very hard to have a conversation with someone who's dysregulated. They're obviously not open.
Yeah.
So,
What I'm hearing in what you're saying is like someone brings something to you, and like the pace at which we travel with with some like our husband's bringing something to us, um we've like run with that so quickly so far, um that and we've unraveled already, and it's like, but it's just a conversation, right? So how about we just go through an example? You'll share something with me, and
okay.
I will not listen.
Okay. Okay. So do all this is fun. Okay. So like do all the things that one shouldn't do.
Right.
That's not deep listening.
I will demonstrate what
Um,
not to do.
great. And then we'll look at all the things that went wrong. Fun. Okay. So I'm going to share with you.
Yeah, you'll share something with me, or you'll
Let's go.
try.
Okay. Okay. Okay, Chayla, I just want to share with you what happened yesterday. It was so special. So we were together as a family and we decided to go on just like a family trip.
Was that is that
And
when you said like we were together as a family? That's like that's not like usual for you guys on a Sunday to be together as a family. Was
I
that
mean,
was that the part that was special?
yeah, I guess so. Or it's just like really nice always to be together as a family, you know? So we were, once the kids were finished school, we were going together as a family. We were just going to go swimming. And it was so nice. Like the kids were in
Oh,
the
you're so
pool,
lucky that you
all
have
that.
swimming weather in California, because it's so annoying. Like we've had so much rain. The summer hasn't really started yet.
Right,
Yeah, it's such a
right.
drag.
Yeah. Yeah. So all four kids were in the pool, and my husband and I were sitting outside of the pool, and we just had this like time to just like sit, and it was just like this fun, special family time. Just like the kids were happy in the pool, my husband and I were sitting next to each other, and it
Your
was just
kids
like
all know how to
everybody.
swim.
Yeah, yeah, they do. Can't get a word out. um, this is great. That was so good. Kyla, was that hard for you?
To interrupt.
It was like interrupting, not really like I'm gonna go through things that happened wrong, right? So the interrupting was pretty prevalent, like that was easy to see. Not really hearing what the person is saying, like they're trying to say something, or even just like giving them a second to finish what they're
Mhm,
saying.
mhm.
So you could hear what it is that they're saying. Reacting while they're speaking, is I think something that also is not listening. Um, Personalizing, right? That was happening a little bit. That's also not listening because the person who is sharing about themselves, it's not supposed to be about you right now. It's supposed to be
Yeah,
about them.
yeah.
and making space for them and whatever it is that they're sharing. What else happened there?
Yeah, if
I
we
think
would have
that's it. We could add some other things.
I guess if we would have gone on for longer, I was also thinking of getting triggered by something that you said, like kind of like, oh, you got to have a family day together, and like, that's not something that we're able to do because my kids are on such different schedules and it's always so complicated. But that would also relate, I guess, to like the personalizing, making it about me. And I think that's a very, I guess, like core issue here is your focus on the other person, or is it on you? Meaning, are you listening to the other, or are you like in conversation for your own sake?
Beautiful. Yeah, it's huge. That's a huge aspect. Okay, should we try it the other way around? I want to see if I could do it.
Yeah, let's try it the other way around.
Okay, go. I have to get into this mode. Okay, 1 second. I got this.
I just have to think of what I want to say. Give me 1 second. Okay.
I'm not going to be good at this. Okay, I'm going to try.
So, Hindi, I wanted to tell you about a meeting that I had in school because I'm thinking of changing my schedule for next year, or just changing it.
No. That's ridiculous. Chayale, why? You're so good with where you are right now. Why would you change things up?
I just haven't been feeling like it's been a hard year for me, and I haven't been feeling like I'm thriving. I haven't been feeling like I'm doing my best, really. And I feel like I need to bring in some change.
What? You're just being way too hard on yourself. Come on, Chayale. Like, that's not your real experience. I know. I speak to you all the time.
I also know, because I can compare it to like how I've showed up in previous years. And I've just had a really hard time this year with the way the schedule played out and the timing and the subject, and just a lot of details about how my position is set up that I really think I need to look at and revamp, or maybe even just move out of that space completely. Like maybe it's just not working for me.
No. This gets me so frustrated. Teachers are meant to teach. Like, you should not be getting your personal life involved in what you're doing right now. Like, you have to be focused. Stop thinking about everything else. Like, you're a teacher. Stay there. Sorry, I'm not good at this.
That was awful.
Worst friend ever award.
I feel shut down and triggered by that conversation.
Yeah, you got triggered. I was trying to bring out different points than what you had done. Like, I was trying to bring out the total disregarding of this person and their feelings and like what their own experience is. I was trying to do the like also the physical expression of like eye rolling, like making the faces, and then also the like I'm getting personally triggered by what you're saying because of some other experience. I don't know, with other teachers. So trying to, but obviously exaggerating, not great listening.
Yeah, you did great at not listening to me. Even as we were doing it, and we're just completely making this up. It was really not a good feeling for me. Like I wasn't genuinely trying to tell you something. We're role playing to make a point. And even in like the spirit of I'm acting it out, I still felt that feeling of like, hello, I'm trying to tell you something. Like, can you listen to me? Like, and even at one point I was like, oh, but you're championing me. Like you're saying how great I am. But I'm like, that's like, I haven't even explained. Like, maybe the end of my sentence is I've realized my greatness and I'm going to be stepping into a bigger role. Like I couldn't even, like the frustration of like, I can't even express myself. And it's just like, if that had been a real conversation that I would have had, I imagine myself walking away like so frustrated, so also even hurt, like, do you not see me? Is there not like, could you not give me a minute there to just share? Like, I'm holding this thing and it feels big for me, and like, yeah.
Yeah. So this is interesting. What's coming up for me, and what I would imagine a listener thinking right now is, we're really good at sharing. And is my husband a good listener, right? Like, let's just turn that around and think about like all the times that I wanted to share something and he jumped on what I said, or like finished my sentence and like totally didn't get what I was saying, or there was just no space for me to share what was on my heart.
Yeah.
Right? Because like we're pretty good at sharing, which is also like the imbalance of being a good listener. Also, we're really great at sharing, a lot of us. So what do you say to that?
Two things. Firstly, I think something that we speak about in this space is that, from an ownership perspective, I can only work on myself, right? So I'm asking myself, how do I want to show up to life, and how do I want to show up to my relationship? So that doesn't have anything to do with anybody else. And also, I think something we mentioned at the beginning of this conversation is this really extends to every relationship that you have in your life. Do you even, are we aware of what it means to listen, and is it practiced anywhere in our life? And then I think that I would imagine, and I do feel like I've had this experience myself, that when you're in a conversation and the other person is really, really listening, I think it becomes a conversation where there's sort of like listening all round. Can always for sure share a desire, like, I'd love to finish my sentence, or I appreciate, like, let's say, if even in our example, if that was happening in real time, I would have just stopped you and I would have been like, Hindi, I know you support me and you believe in me, and can you just let me finish? Which I can always do as the speaker. I can ask for space in the conversation. That's not really the topic here so much. I think being able to listen. It's also different to ask to be listened to once you have listened. So, like everything good in life, be the one to start.
Love that. I love that. So create a dynamic of deep listening, create an atmosphere of deep listening. Also a little bit of mirror work. Like, do I come from a family where there was like a bunch of kids and everyone competing for a voice? Like, did that happen for me? Did that happen for him? Let's make space for some change to happen here. And you were also saying, to voice a desire. Like, if you want to just finish your train of thought or your sentence, you could say that. You don't have to like immediately shut down when someone interrupts you. It's not like that person wants to interrupt you or doesn't want to hear what you have to say. It just happens to be that they interrupted. Like, kind of like the question of like, what are you making this mean? Sometimes a woman will make it mean so much more. Like, okay, so he interrupted you, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't care. He doesn't want to hear what you have to say. You could literally just say like, "Ooh, I need to finish this train of thought. I'd love to just finish this." And then, right? It doesn't have to also sound energized, if you know what I'm saying. Like, even if a woman were to say, "I would love to finish what I was saying," it could sound, "I would love to finish what I was saying." So just imagining our listeners, So they're saying it and they're saying it. So what is your energy around it? Is your energy, he never lets me talk and I'm just so annoyed and I need to get this off my chest, and there's a neediness and there's like an intensity there? Or is there just a share, which is a share is just something that you do want to share? It could be vulnerable, but it doesn't have to be so energized. And it's with the energy of trusting him that he wants to hear you, that he does love and care. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, so those demonstrations were fun. Um, let's talk about why it's important to be a deep listener.
Yeah. So, at least the way I see it, I think how women often talk about wanting emotional intimacy. Um, and I think it would be, sort of, if we were workshopping this, I would have everyone ask themselves, like, I would pitch a question to a group of women and I would say, define emotional intimacy, like on your piece of paper. What does that mean to you? When you say, I want intimacy, or another word that comes up a lot, I want to feel connected to my spouse. What are those words? What does it mean to feel connected, or what does it look like to feel connected? And I think what some people might say, and if you want to pause the podcast and write your definition, feel free. What some people might say is to be seen, to be heard, and valued. To be seen and heard, and for there to be value placed on what you see and hear. That's a that creates a very, very safe space to be in, where the other person is seeing me, hearing me, and valuing what they see and hear. So, like, that's the ultimate. Or you could say that in a space where I'm seen and heard, and there's unconditional respect and love for who I am and what I am. So that's amazing. And it's a great goal. The only challenge becomes people's just practical inability to listen.
Hmm.
We're people, so we talk to each other, and that's a big part of how we get to know one another and practice seeing each other. So if I want to feel seen and I want to connect with my partner, I have to be able to see. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's great. So like connection, emotional intimacy means that it's not just me feeling loved, there's space in me for someone else. Like there's supposed to be connection between two people, not just me feeling witnessed and seen. It's also the ability to do that as well, to create space for somebody else to connect with you. Beautiful. Yeah.
yeah. And I think based on the stereotype that you mentioned, like, women share more than men. So there are women who feel like, maybe their husbands don't share with them so much, or they would love for their husbands to share more or to know more about what's going on in their husband's world. And maybe a woman can ask herself if she's created space for that.
Wow. Yeah. Or if he's offering it and she's just not seeing it because she's seeing it from a specific prism of this is what looks like emotional intimacy, right? So, like, let's say she shares a lot and she feels really close to him because she's sharing, and that's the way that she interprets visual emotional intimacy to look. And he might be sharing something different in a totally different way, and she's just not seeing it.
Yeah.
There's not space for that to land. Yeah, beautiful. And that very much ties in to what we talk about all the time, which is femininity, right? Like that ability to be receptive and open and make space for someone else is very much in line with femininity, which means that deep listening is a direct, um, a direct result of being a makabo. Like, if you're working on being a makabo, this should be one of the ways that it manifests, that you see it. You'll see it on the outside. So if you see a couple and they're whatever, you don't usually see a couple talking deeply to each other, but I'm saying even just to witness yourself and say, like, look at our conversations. Am I a deep listener? That would be more reflective on a feminine woman, a receptive woman, than the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah. It's exceptionally feminine. And I do think there's a very powerful it has a very powerful impact on your relationship if you have if you have brought deep listening into your life. And I think that women would be surprised at what they might hear their husbands say or notice about what their husbands are saying when they silence the inner chatter and they soften and they create space to listen. I know, definitely have heard women share with me that they were very pleasantly surprised at what their husbands had to offer or share or say, things that they would have maybe wanted or hoped to hear, but just there wasn't space for.
Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful. So if you do feel like there's room for you to improve on the deep listening, then what are some practical techniques, things to do to help you shift into a space of the deep listener? What does it look like? Like, how do we do this?
Yeah. I know we also mentioned like negative, I guess, things that feel a little bit more negative in terms of how they interrupt our listening, beliefs, judgments. But I like that this came up a little bit in the role playing when I was talking and you were listening, where like you were enthusiastic or you were championing me, and that also impacted your listening. Sometimes we're so eager to show the person that we care. We're so eager to show that, like, I know what you're about to say. Like, I get you, you know, like I can finish your sentence for you. So it could also come from a very positive place. Like you're actually trying so hard to listen. And you're paying so much attention that you already know, you can kind of, like, we finish each other's sentences, that kind of thing. You feel like you can finish the sentence. So even that, I would kind of slow that down. Because you want to create space.
Yeah. You know what I'm also thinking about? Like, this is so funny. So I know on the internet, there's a lot of like mood matching. You've heard of this like concept? I've heard of this where it's like, if you want to be a good listener, like you have to mood match. Like and like it's between husbands and wives, like you have to be on the same page. So did you ever hear of anything like this? So
No.
is no, okay, fine. So the idea is like if she's upset, so he's like, oh, like he
Oh,
has
okay.
to look upset too, right? Or like if she's really sad, he's like, okay, and it's cute, right? It's so sweet. Like, yeah, like be right there in it with me. Which I think is very sweet, like helps the person feel like you are present with them. And at the same time, the whole point is that you're in it, but you're not in it. You know what I'm saying? Like you're making space for them, but there's not you in it. It's just making space, right? So it's not like I have to fully, perfectly match your facial features and like try so hard to make sure you know that I'm listening. Like that's all. It ends up also feeling constrained or forced.
Right. When you're listening,
Right? As opposed to just like,
is very loud, it's not good listening.
yeah,
When you're like so demonstrative about how well you're listening, nah, you kind of miss the point.
right, right.
It's like,
It's really sweet.
it's very sweet. It's a good effort. But I think that's a great example because it speaks to, like, we're talking about a really genuine giving of space to the other, which would require a silencing. Like it's a pullback almost. Like I'm going to move myself back and open up the space for you to share. When you're ready or want me to re-enter the space and respond or reciprocate or in some way, then I'll be ready, but I will have heard first. Something that always I always think about that struck me very deeply was Rabbi Jacobson and his brother. They often share. They would listen to the Rebbe speak at the Shabbos Vibringans for many, many hours, and they would like record it in their brains and then after Shabbos, they would all write it down from memory, and there was a group of people who did it. They were amongst a group of people who did it, and that's how we have the Shabbos talks from the Rebbe, because they couldn't use recording. And he shared that the way to do it was you had to empty your mind. You couldn't be thinking like, oh, that's such a good idea, of like, oh wow, that's amazing that's what the Rebbe's saying, or such a deep explanation, or I'm wondering why he's asking that question. Now, if you had the commentary while you were listening, then you couldn't remember what he said. You could remember what you thought about what he said. So he was saying like you had to create this very, very like clean space where you were just fully internalizing what was being said, and you weren't even processing it. You were just taking it in. And then when the time came, obviously you put it back, you put it out. And he said, in the case of this example, once it was on paper, you could analyze it as much as you want and learn it and discover it and all of that. But it's such a powerful visualization of how when you have your internal commentator while the person's speaking, you never heard what they said. You only heard what you thought about what they said. So I think, just to answer your question of what are some tips, I think the first thing is to like hear for your internal commentator and to turn off the volume on that. Like silence, internal silence.
I love that. Beautiful. Like, like I had high school teachers who used to say, like, put down your pencils, just stop writing. Like, I want you to hear what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Do you remember this?
Yes.
Because even the taking notes is now, I'm not quite listening because I'm translating and I'm structuring the notes and I'm putting bullet points or I'm numbering it.
Yeah.
And now you've shifted into a different part of your brain. You're now analyzing and listening. No. She would want me to just listen and then take notes. And it was a really cool experience because it's true. You're accessing different parts of yourself when you're translating or when you're in that analysis mode. So I love that. So bring down the inner chatter. Let go of the judgments, be actively working through judgments, especially if you have some sort of negative or limiting belief about your husband. You have to actively have been working through it, right? We're not actually asking for perfection here. We have to like completely let go of all beliefs and then only can you talk to your husband. That's not the point. But if you're in a state of working through or even just noticing, wow, I have that negative belief about him. I don't want to give that so much space. I want to give him space, all of him space. And then, you could slowly work through that belief. That is helpful. I think like, just like some regulation, like actively allowing your body to relax, just like the feeling of I'm okay, you're okay, we're okay in the conversation, just to relax your body helps you outwardly look like you are receptive, and then it helps you actually get to that space.
Yeah, but you're saying regulation. You might have mentioned this earlier. I'm thinking now also it's about being in the conversation, not in what this conversation might mean about our future or what this conversation means about our past, because that also is where a lot of fear comes in. My husband's saying this right now, so that means that maybe, I don't know, our summer plans are canceled. So that's where like the regulation starts to go off course and the temperature starts rising. So reminding yourself right now, this is just a conversation. Like right now, I'm just hearing. You had a great story or anecdote. Do you remember what I'm talking about with the ideas? Was it with Golda Meir, maybe?
Oh, I love that story. Have you shared it yet?
I don't know.
Where Golda Meir says about Moshe Dayan. So Golda Meir was the first female prime minister of Eretz Israel, and she, I guess you could say, served along with Moshe Dayan, or he served her. He was her general. And she says about him that Moshe Dayan has 94 or like 92, I don't remember the exact number, but like 94 scary, dangerous, terrible ideas and 6 incredible ones, you know?
Mhm.
And I love that because you pointed out when I shared the story with you that she sat through all 100, right? She sat there and listened to all 100. Yeah, it's true. She judged 96 of them and thought that they were terrible, dangerous ideas, but she also was open enough to hear the 6 that were truly genius.
Yeah, so I love that because not to get stuck on for people who don't get stuck on the dangerous, scary, but in terms of like an ability to like how to nurture a relationship or how to bring out the best in one another. And because I think I would love for all of us to extend this past our marriages into our relationships with our children, siblings, parents. Like this is very, I think this will be revolutionary in all your relationships that maybe if I stick around for a little bit longer, I'll get to the good ideas or I'll see the heart or I'll see the truth or the care. Like if there's I think maybe another word to bring in here is patience. Um, if there's the patience to listen, and I'm sure people have experienced this maybe more with their kids, because that's somewhere where people maybe have a little bit more awareness about this, like to listen to your child to the end of the story. Like there might be the part where he resolved it or where he's actually okay. Um, and then there's like the jumping in to fix it or shut it down that like really squashes a person.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually have a story I could share about this. This didn't even happen this past Pesach. It was like a year and a bit uh, ago, where we were sitting at the Seder. We had a bunch of people from our community at the Seder, and my son had left the Seder. And the whole point of the Seder was to get the kids involved and get them engaged. And my son was sitting on the couch and reading a book. And I'm thinking like, right, so like the first initial reactions are, why are you just leaving the table? What, right? I'm in my head. I'm like, why is he
Hmm.
just leaving the table? We have community members here. Um, he's just reading a book. It's Pesach night. Like, go get your agada. Come, get involved. I'm trying so hard to engage with you. And I actually thought of one of my sisters-in-law, you know who you are,
Hmm.
who deeply listens to her children. And I thought, okay, let me hear what's going on for him. So I just went over and sat down next to him on the couch instead of calling him over or, giving him a look. So I just went and sat down next to him. And I know this sounds funny as if this is deep listening, but I think it was, where I just sat there and, and just like checked out the situation, what's going on. And when I looked at it, he was actually reading this Pesach book that's for kids. And it's like a beautiful, it's not a Haggadah, but it's like the story of Pesach. And that's what he was looking at. And I was thinking, wow, I could have really messed this one up. I could have just like called him over, you know, whatever his name is. Let's say his name is Herschel. Herschel, come over here. Like, now's the time. We're supposed to be doing this. And instead, I just came and I was able to praise him for engaging with the story of the Pesach, of the story of Pesach, which is exactly what he's supposed to be doing. But he was just doing it on his own and doing it in a beautiful way. That wouldn't have happened if I didn't have that curious, open, let me hear what's going on here.
Yeah, it's a beautiful story. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, anytime. I like that story. Why? Because it's opening up that we're not just talking about a conversation. Deeply listening is an attitude. It's an
Mhm.
experience.
Yes,
It's
yes.
it's a way of living.
It's a way of being. Yeah, it's literally a way of being.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's gonna be in your whole approach. It's an approach to life, and that will show up in how you move.
Okay.
So
So beautiful. A lot of great pointers there. You want to summarize?
yeah, let's bring it to a close, but hopefully an opening for our listeners. I think some of the language that we have here, and maybe um, some words that you can remember to help you with the listening, is if you come at it from a space of trust and a space of abundance, which is there is space there is an abundance of space in Hashem's world. There is an abundance of space for all the people that Hashem created, all their experiences and their opinions and their thoughts and their dreams and their challenges. And it's not me or you. There can be space for both of us. There can be space for both of us in this conversation. I can trust that you have space for me. I can hold space for you, and that there's enough to go around. So we don't want to have that stress of, when, like, sometimes even people just waiting for their turn in a conversation, like, will I get my turn to speak, could be enough of a stress for somebody. So just bringing in the abundance mindset, there's time, there's space, this is Hashem's world. We all have a place here. And that could help us really soften.
Right. Relax. Like, you will have a turn to share your voice. It doesn't have to be right now, this moment. It could be right now, this moment, but just like, don't worry. It's going to happen. Trust the process. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. There's a lot that we said here. I'd love for our listeners to write in, tell us what resonated. Was there something that you never heard before? And what are you practicing in your relationship with your husband, outside of your relationship with your husband, with others? Where are we deeply listening?
We would love to hear your feedback, thoughts, and questions.
Please leave a comment below or email us at yourrelationship@gmail.com.
Looking forward to connecting with you.
See you next time.